Consistency is the quiet force that reshapes a person's entire destiny. It does not arrive wrapped in excitement or motivation. It comes dressed in discipline, persistence, and a willingness to do the work long after the mood has disappeared. To force yourself to be consistent is to declare to your own mind that your life is no longer controlled by excuses, distractions, or temporary emotions. It means you have decided that your future is more important than your comfort, that your purpose is stronger than your laziness, and that your vision deserves daily action, not occasional enthusiasm. Every dream begins with desire, but desire alone is not enough. Desire without consistency becomes frustration. Desire with consistency becomes transformation. You must understand that your mind is shaped by repetition. Whatever you do every day becomes who you are. If you choose discipline daily, you become powerful. If you choose excuses daily, you become weaker. This is why consistency is the truest test of character. It exposes whether you are committed to your goal or only interested in it. Most people fail not because they lack ability, but because they refuse to keep going when the excitement fades. They wait for motivation, not realizing that motivation is the reward of action, not the requirement. When you take action first, motivation grows. When you wait for motivation, nothing changes. To force yourself to be consistent, you must accept that growth often hides behind boredom, repetition, and invisible progress. Success rarely announces itself loudly. It comes through small steps, done again and again until they accumulate into something extraordinary. One workout won't change you, but 100 will. 1 hour of study won't make you a master, but 1,000 will. 1 day of discipline won't transform your life, but months of discipline will. The world sees the results, but never the quiet daily effort that built them. This is why consistency is powerful. It works in silence and reveals its rewards loudly. Challenges will come. There will be days when your mind tries to negotiate with you, telling you to skip the work, delay the effort, or settle for less. These are the moments that define you. Anyone can be consistent when life feels easy. Only the strong remain consistent when everything inside them wants to stop. Every time you show up when it's difficult, you strengthen your willpower. Every time you keep going despite fatigue or doubt, you train your mind to obey your goals instead of your emotions. This is how ordinary people become unstoppable, through the practice of daily persistence. Your environment matters too. Surround yourself with people who value growth, ambition, and discipline. When you walk with individuals who are committed to their goals, you naturally raise your standards. But if you surround yourself with those who accept mediocrity, your consistency will fade. Your circle influences your habits, and your habits influence your destiny. Protect your energy and choose people who push you higher. Remember always that the future you desire is built on the actions you take today, not tomorrow, not when you feel inspired today. Every moment you choose discipline over delay, you move closer to the person you want to become. Every day you practice consistency, you rewrite your identity into someone who refuses to quit. Your dreams are not waiting for more talent or more motivation, they are waiting for more consistency. Force yourself to be consistent even when it's hard, especially when it's hard, because consistency is the bridge between who you are and who you want to be. Cross that bridge daily, and your life will change in ways you never imagined. Consistency is the silent power that separates those who dream from those who achieve, and the first keynote is understanding that your mind becomes whatever you repeatedly do. People often underestimate how deeply the subconscious is shaped by repetition. Every action, every thought, every habit, every choice you make is carving your future, whether you notice it or not. If you choose discipline repeatedly, discipline becomes automatic. If you choose excuses repeatedly, excuses become your identity. Therefore, forcing yourself to be consistent is not merely an act of willpower, it is an act of creation. You are creating a new version of yourself each time you push through resistance. Consistency demands that you show up when excitement is gone, when praise is absent, when results are slow, when doubts whisper louder than dreams. But this is exactly where the transformation happens. Greatness is never built on intensity alone, it is built on persistence. The world sees the moment of victory, but not the countless invisible days of effort that made that victory possible. When you wake up early even when tired, study even when bored, work even when discouraged, train even when uninspired, you are proving to yourself that your purpose is stronger than your feelings. Life rewards those who do the work, not those who wait to feel ready. Every moment you push through discomfort, you are rewriting your destiny. Every day you choose consistency over laziness. You are strengthening the mental muscles that will carry you to your goals. It is in the repetition of disciplined actions that your confidence grows, your skills sharpen, your mind strengthens, and your future becomes clearer. Success is not the result of one big decision. It is the result of thousands of small decisions made consistently every single day. To force yourself to be consistent is to take control of your own story, refusing to be shaped by excuses and choosing instead to be shaped by commitment. The second keynote is understanding that consistency becomes unbreakable when you align it with purpose, environment, and identity. Purpose gives direction to your efforts. When you know why you are doing something, discipline becomes easier because it is no longer just a task, it is a necessity. Your purpose acts like a compass that guides your decisions, reminding you that every action today is connected to the life you want tomorrow. But purpose alone is not enough. Your environment must support your ambition. You cannot grow in soil that starves your potential. Surround yourself with people who elevate your standards, individuals who live with fire, discipline, and hunger for progress. Your circle should pull you forward, not hold you back. If the people around you lack drive, consistency becomes a struggle. But if they are committed to improvement, their energy becomes fuel for your own discipline. And finally, consistency becomes permanent when it becomes part of your identity. You must stop telling yourself you are someone who tries and start telling yourself you are someone who shows up. When you identify as a disciplined person, consistent action becomes natural. You move from forcing yourself to act into expecting yourself to act. The shift is powerful. Suddenly, your habits no longer feel like burdens. They feel like expressions of who you are becoming. And who you are becoming matters more than anything else. Every great achievement begins with a person who decided to consistently show up for their own future. When you align purpose with environment and identity, consistency becomes unstoppable. And when consistency becomes unstoppable, so do you. Consistency is the foundation upon which every great achievement is built, and the first keynote begins with the understanding that real power is born from repeated action. Most people wait for motivation, not realizing that motivation is the byproduct of discipline. You do not become consistent by wishing for it. You become consistent by forcing yourself to show up even when you feel resistance. Every time you take action in moments of laziness, doubt, or fatigue, you strengthen the inner force that shapes your destiny. Consistency is not about perfection. It is about commitment. It is about doing the small, unexciting, ordinary things with extraordinary discipline. The world applauds success, but overlooks the countless invisible days that built it. People admire the results, but not the early mornings, late nights, repeated failures, and quiet persistence that created them. When you commit to consistency, you give yourself the chance to grow in silence, develop skills slowly, and build a mindset that refuses to quit. And over time, this steady, silent effort becomes a force no obstacle can overpower. Your life begins to change the moment your daily actions become aligned with your highest vision, not your temporary feelings. The second keynote is that consistency gains strength through clarity, purpose, and structure. People who lack clarity cannot stay consistent because they do not know what they are working toward. Purpose gives your daily effort meaning. It fuels your discipline when your emotions are weak. When you know exactly why you are working, the struggle becomes easier to bear. Another essential truth is that purpose alone will not sustain you. Your environment must support your ambition. You cannot expect to rise while standing in a place that keeps pulling you down. If you surround yourself with people who settle, you will settle. If you surround yourself with people who procrastinate, you will procrastinate. But when you walk with people who are driven, disciplined, and committed to growth, their standards elevate your own. This is why choosing the right environment is not optional. It is necessary, and then comes structure. Consistency thrives on routine. When you create simple, achievable habits and repeat them daily, discipline becomes easier because the mind grows accustomed to showing up without negotiation. Structure eliminates excuses. It teaches you to follow through even when your emotions fluctuate. With clarity, purpose, environment, and structure, consistency becomes not a struggle but a lifestyle. The third keynote is that consistency becomes unstoppable when it becomes part of your identity. A person can force themselves to act for only so long before old habits pull them back, unless they transform their identity. You must stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. When you tell your mind that discipline is who you are, not just what you do, your actions begin to align naturally. Identity reshapes behavior. Behavior repeated reshapes destiny. Every small action you take, every promise you keep to yourself, every day you show up even when you do not want to, you are building a new identity, one that is strong, determined, disciplined, and unshakable. And once this identity takes root, consistency becomes effortless. It becomes something you expect from yourself, not something you struggle to maintain. At that point, your goals stop being distant dreams and start becoming predictable outcomes. Consistency is the bridge that carries you from who you are to who you are meant to be. Walk that bridge daily, and no force on earth can deny you the life you are determined to create. Consistency is the greatest multiplier of human potential, and the first keynote begins with understanding that every extraordinary achievement is built on ordinary actions repeated with unwavering discipline. Most people fail not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they cannot bring themselves to do the same essential things day after day. They underestimate the quiet power of repetition. They quit when they feel bored, discouraged, or uninspired. But the ones who rise are those who act regardless of their mood. They force themselves to push through the invisible battles of the mind. Every time you show up when you don't feel like it, you train your subconscious to obey your goals instead of your emotions. This mental training is the birthplace of strength. Consistency is not glamorous, it is not loud, it is not exciting. It is steady, silent, and often unnoticed, but it is the only path to mastery. The person who learns to embrace the repetition of discipline becomes unstoppable because they understand that greatness is built in the shadows long before it is celebrated in the spotlight. The second keynote is realizing that consistency becomes easier when your purpose is clear and deeply felt. People who lack purpose cannot stay committed because they are not emotionally connected to their goals. When you know why you are doing something, when your mission has meaning, when your dream touches your soul, discipline becomes a necessity rather than a burden. A powerful purpose sharpens your mind and strengthens your heart. It reminds you that every small step carries you toward a greater destination. But purpose alone is not enough. You must also develop systems that support your ambition. A clear plan, structured habits, and simple routines prevent you from relying on willpower alone. Willpower fades, but systems endure. When your life is organized to support your goals, consistency becomes automatic. You don't waste time deciding whether to act. You simply act because the path is already set. Purpose fuels your fire, and structure keeps that fire burning. The third keynote is understanding the influence of your environment. You cannot consistently rise while living in a space that constantly drags you down. Your surroundings shape your standards. Your circle influences your habits. Your atmosphere affects your discipline. If you surround yourself with people who complain, procrastinate, or settle for average, your consistency will crumble because you are absorbing their energy. But when you walk with people who value growth, self-control, ambition, and daily improvement, you naturally elevate your own expectations. Their momentum pushes you forward. Their discipline strengthens yours. This is why your environment is a silent partner in your success or a silent enemy working against you. Choose people who feed your focus, not your distractions. Build a space that reminds you of your goals rather than tempting you away from them. Consistency is not just about what you do, it's also about where and with whom you do it. The fourth keynote is the transformation of identity. True consistency becomes effortless only when it becomes part of who you believe yourself to be. If you see yourself as someone who tries, you will fail the moment things become hard. But if you see yourself as someone who shows up, you will follow through no matter what. Identity creates behavior, and behavior repeated creates destiny. Every day you keep a promise to yourself. You reinforce the belief that you are disciplined. Every time you push through resistance, you strengthen the identity of a committed, focused, driven individual. Eventually, consistency becomes not something you force. It becomes something you expect from yourself. And once your identity aligns with your actions, success becomes inevitable. Consistency is the force that turns dreams into reality, and the person who masters it becomes the architect of their own future. Consistency is the invisible force that shapes every destiny, and the first keynote is understanding that every great transformation begins with small, repeated actions executed with unwavering discipline. People admire success, but rarely understand the quiet persistence that builds it. They look for sudden breakthroughs, dramatic turning points, or moments of magic, but real progress is slow, steady, and often invisible. Consistency is the engine working behind the scenes, turning intention into reality and dreams into achievement. Each day you show up. Whether motivated or exhausted, inspired or uncertain, you strengthen the foundation upon which your future rests. The mind responds to repetition, and the more you act in alignment with your goals, the more natural discipline becomes. Consistency teaches you to rise above your excuses and reminds you that progress is always possible when you refuse to quit. The second keynote is recognizing that clarity fuels consistency. Without a clear vision, the mind wanders, habits weaken, and discipline fades. When you know exactly what you want, why you want it, and what steps are required to achieve it, The daily effort becomes less of a struggle and more of a necessity. Clarity eliminates confusion and replaces it with direction. When you define your goals with precision, whether it's improving your health, mastering a skill, or building a new life, your actions gain purpose. You stop drifting and start advancing, and with each day of intentional action, momentum begins to build. That momentum becomes your ally, pushing you forward through moments where motivation fails. Clarity brings certainty, and certainty strengthens consistency. The third keynote is the power of environment. No matter how disciplined you are, it is difficult to remain consistent in a space that pulls you down. Your surroundings either support your growth or sabotage it. The people around you influence your habits, your thinking, and your standards, even when you don't notice. If you surround yourself with those who complain, avoid responsibility, or settle for mediocrity, you slowly adopt their patterns. But if your circle consists of individuals who strive for excellence, push their limits, and honor their commitments, you naturally rise to their level. Your environment shapes your energy shapes your actions shape your destiny. To remain consistent, you must consciously choose an environment that nurtures your ambition, encourages your discipline, and reflects the life you are working to build. The fourth keynote is mastering the art of self-accountability. Consistency cannot survive without responsibility. You must become the architect of your habits and the guardian of your time. No one will come to save you, push you, or force you to act. Your dreams rely on your own ability to hold yourself to a higher standard. Accountability means doing what you said you would do long after the excitement of the decision has faded. It means refusing to negotiate with your excuses. It means choosing growth over comfort. When you hold yourself accountable, you eliminate the gap between intention and action. And that elimination is where breakthroughs begin. Every promise you keep to yourself strengthens your confidence, shapes your identity, and reinforces the belief that you are capable of more than you once imagined. The fifth keynote is that consistency becomes unstoppable only when it becomes part of who you are. At first, you force the habit, you push yourself, you struggle, but over time, repeated action rewires your identity. You stop viewing discipline as something you do and start seeing it as something you are. You become the kind of person who follows through, who shows up, who keeps going. And once consistency becomes your identity, success becomes not a possibility, but an expectation. With that shift, you unlock the power to build any life you desire, one steady, disciplined day at a time. Consistency is the unseen force that shapes every result you admire in others and desire for yourself. The first keynote begins with the truth that success is not built on dramatic moments, but on steady, repeated actions that most people are unwilling to commit to. It is not intensity that wins, it is persistence. It is doing the essential work even when it feels boring, repetitive, or thankless. Consistency is like a quiet, loyal companion. It never abandons you if you do not abandon it. Each day you show up, no matter how you feel, you strengthen the internal muscle of discipline. And that muscle becomes the very engine that pushes your life forward. The greatest minds discovered early that consistency is not a talent. It is a decision made again and again until it becomes automatic. The second keynote is that clarity makes consistency easier. When you know exactly what you want, your daily actions gain direction and purpose. A confused mind hesitates, but a clear mind advances. When your goals are vague, you drift. When your goals are defined, you move with intention. Clarity removes the fog that slows your progress. It allows you to wake up each day knowing precisely what must be done. Small tasks, when linked to a larger vision, suddenly become meaningful, and when your actions have meaning, consistency becomes far more natural. Your vision acts like a compass, guiding your steps, steadying your emotions, and making discipline feel less like a burden and more like a duty to your future self. The third keynote is the influence of your environment. You cannot consistently grow in an environment that constantly pulls you backward. Your surroundings shape your thoughts, your habits, and your ambitions. Spend time with people who lack drive, and your own fire begins to dim. Surround yourself with those who work, build, and rise, and the same energy will ignite within you. Your environment can be a silent enemy or a powerful ally. If you want to remain consistent, you must build a space, both internally and externally, that supports your growth. Remove distractions, limit negative influences, seek out people and places that remind you of who you want to become. When your environment reflects your goals, consistency becomes far easier to maintain. The fourth keynote is self-accountability. You cannot rely on others to push you, motivate you, or remind you of your responsibilities. You must become the person who holds yourself to a higher standard. Accountability is the bridge between intention and action. It is the voice inside you that says, do what you said you would do, even when you're tired, even when you're discouraged, even when no one is watching. When you take responsibility for your habits, your progress accelerates. Accountability sharpens your focus, strengthens your discipline, and eliminates the excuses that have held you back for years. It transforms your mindset from hoping for results to ensuring them. The fifth keynote is embracing small wins. People often fail to be consistent because they underestimate the power of small progress. They look for big leaps, dramatic transformations, or instant victories. But success is not built that way. Every major achievement is the accumulation of tiny, repeated steps taken consistently over time. Celebrate the effort, celebrate the discipline, celebrate the fact that you showed up today even if the progress felt small. These small wins become the very fuel that keeps you moving forward. They remind you that growth is happening even when it is not visible. The sixth keynote is identity transformation. Consistency becomes effortless when it becomes part of who you are. At first, you push yourself, you negotiate with your mind, you fight resistance. But with repetition, your actions create a new identity, one rooted in discipline, focus, and resilience. You stop saying, I try to be consistent, and start saying, I am consistent. When your identity changes, your behavior aligns naturally. And once consistency becomes your identity, success is no longer a distant dream. It becomes your inevitable reality.